Hey, everybody, how are you? Hopefully, the mic is working and you can hear me. I'm just delighted that you're here today. We're going to talk about origin travel stories. What got us to love travel or thinking about travel or doing travel? So, I'm going to start and then I'm hoping that you'll join me in the comments with your travel beginnings and how you got started and what your plans are for the future. So, my first memory is going across country. Actually, it probably started a little bit before that. But mom started selling everything we had. It was 1973. And things started disappearing, and I wasn't really all that worried about it. And then I come home from school one day, and there is this orange. Oh, you know what? Let me. I put some pictures together for you. Sorry. Let me just show those. There we go. By the way, this road is the road up to the Blue Lagoon that's behind me. So that's me on the left. You've probably seen that. And my grandma on the right. And her, so that's probably my first origin of travel. She had three triple bypasses from 1968 forward. And one of the doctor's suggestions is that she goes to Puerto Rico in the wintertime from Cleveland, Ohio to kind of get out of the cold. And I remember in the days you would drop somebody off at the gate and kiss them goodbye. And then she'd come home with little gifties for us and this far away place called Puerto Rico, which I didn't go to until I was in my working years in like my 30s. And she just loved it and talked about it. And that was really the big travel that our family had. So she was a big influence on going away and coming back. So I wanted to start with that. And that's my mom in the middle, clearly, and me on the left and my sister on the right. And we were a tight knit group. 1968, this woman divorced my cheating dad and said, we will not be living with a cheater or someone who is emotionally abusive, and I'm not raising my two girls. And in Shaker Heights in 1968, you didn't quite do that. You just hung in there with them and you lived with them and you dealt with it and you looked the other way. And she just would not have anything of it. So I'll tell you a little bit more where that led us. And that's grandma and mom and my sister and I think we were at SeaWorld before SeaWorld was kind of a weird place to go. But anyway, that was one of our educational trips every summer that we would take. And then we did have trips to, let me change this a little bit. Maybe it'll look better. Nope, that's not. Sorry. To Washington, D.C., when we got divorced, mom was intent that we would have a male role model, which was her uncle, which was her brother, who is the youngest administrative assistant in Washington, D.C. And we could do a road trip to Washington, stay with him, so it was inexpensive, and see the Capitol and had all sorts of fun trips there. And he was a great role model and a great traveler, spoke fluent French, was sent to France as a young man with the Red Cross out of Cleveland, Ohio. And he was my role model for many, many, many years. And that's how I got into political science and history. So DC was also someplace that we loved to go as a family. But then in 1973, so this is now 5 years past divorce, I come home and here is this VW camper van. You guys, we had never camped before. I mean, I'm 13, my sister's 11. No, we did not camp. We were nice Jewish girls from Cleveland, Ohio, Shaker Heights. And my mom bought a camper van and stuff in the house is disappearing. You know, she's selling everything we have. And I wasn't really concerned about it. I was like, okay, you know, whatever. And then she tells us we're going away for the summer, the entire summer. And of course, we have friends and summer school and, you know, going to camp and all that. She said, this is camp. We're going. Don't worry about it. What if we get lost? As long as we have a full tank of gas, we will never be lost. What about food? We will have a little grill and we're going to camp out. We have a big KOA campground book. Back then, there was no internet, you guys. We were not even old enough to drive. This was my mom. I'm telling this story to a friend of mine in Australia last summer when I was there. And she asks, how old was your mother? And, you know, I had never thought of it and never even considered it. She was 36 years old with two girls under the age of 16 traveling across the country in that van the whole summer. That is the fearlessness of travel and where my origin story for travel came. I only look back now and realize what it was for her to take that trip and for us to go with her. And, you know, we were teenagers, or I was a teenager. My sister was almost one, you know, two girls. I think we were really pretty well behaved. But I mean, I'm a solo traveler now, and for all intents and purposes, she was sort of on her own because she only had two little girls. We learned to read maps. We used payphones. She was a teacher. Mom was a teacher so that she could be on the same schedule that we had in school. And so she was home after school when we were. She took the summers off when we had the summers off. And then as we got older, she worked during the summer. So this was one of the summers she took off, and it was educational. We saw zoos, we saw science centers, we saw musical events. We learned how the Navajo and the Hopi made their jewelry and their rugs. It was an amazing trip. And so to me, that is in the heart of my body of where travel came from. This woman taking these two girls across country. There are no pictures. There probably were at some point. We did not have cell phones. So I found this on the internet. This guy, Barrett Jackson, rehabilitates and renovates these VW camper vans. So here we are, 1973, we come back, we're truant, we're a little late. Mom's a teacher. She homeschooled us, and we re-entered school and went on from there. So 1980, the Democratic National Convention is in New York, and my uncle, yes, I used my influence or his influence, and I got a job to work with the Speaker of the House at the time at the DNC, and that is Gloria Steinem on the right and Bella Abzug on the left. And if you don't know who they are, look them up. But that was on the floor of the DNC. I was there alone. I was 20 years old, working for the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and it was an amazing experience, especially as a political science and history major, right? I was like in heaven. And then in 1981, Junior Year Abroad. Y'all know about Junior Year Abroad. If you don't, and you have youngins, make sure you find out. So Junior Year Abroad, when I was looking at it, was really either an immersion into a language that you were learning, Spanish or French or another language, or English, which was basically you would go to the United Kingdom, England, someplace in England, or Canada, and you do Junior Year Abroad from college. I thought, well, if you are going to pay for this with my financial aid and my work study that I've been working my butt off on, you're going to send me as far as possible. Two guys before me had gone to Australia, and they went to Canberra, which is the capital of Australia, and did not suggest I go there. And that's another whole story. But Flinders University in Adelaide, we created the first Junior Year Abroad program between my university in Cleveland, Case Western Reserve University, and Adelaide, Flinders University of South Australia. It was an amazing 18 months. I saw the entire country on car, in train, flying. It was an amazing experience. Again, alone, 1981, get on a plane, Qantas plane, over and the seat in the back in the corner in the dark for 18 hours. And that was my first, think big solo trip. And Mom, her opinion was, if you can figure out how you're going to pay for it and your financial aid is going to work and your credits are going to transfer, go. What have you got to lose? And it was amazing learning history and political science from their point of view, because it's really quite different when you start looking at it from all over the world. So that's 1981, 21 years old. And we climbed at the time, now it's protected more, sort of, Ayers Rock. So that's me in the middle with some guys that I met in Ayers Rock. It was a really dust bowl of a red place, amazing history. Indigenous people and the land is very important there. And so now they've protected it more. There's a lot more ecotourism going on, but just thought I'd share that from 1981. And then the travel really started after I graduated from college. Little did I know. One of my first jobs was at the American Heart Association, traveling all over Northeast Ohio in a car, doing door-to-door and a business campaign, as well as running half and full marathons all over those 8 counties in Northeast Ohio. And this is me in Texas at the Association of Fundraising Professionals conference. And that became a big part of my business or my professional life, was attending those conferences and later on teaching at them all over the world, in Australia and Canada, United States, over in Amsterdam. And so that travel was just always wonderful. And these are folks that I met year after year after year. Tony on the far right is a full-time fundraiser now. And when I met him, he was representing American Express to the AIDS walk that I was running in Chicago, and calls me one day and said, I think I want to do what you do. And he's been doing it ever since. And he's just fabulous. And in the middle here is, let me see if I can get rid of that banner there. In the middle, Carrie Kay and I have been fundraisers in Washington, D.C. together. And Antonia was a fundraiser extraordinaire, still is, in Melbourne, Australia. And we all went to Texas together for the conference. And then Angie and I met at a conference, and we've been friends ever since. So the thing about travel for me is about the people. It's about the experiences, the people, and the location, not counting countries, not talking about how many cruises or how many hours you've had in the plane or how how many times your butt has hit a plane seat. It's all about the people. And then I got hired at, I consulted for a long time in fundraising, and then the American Red Cross hired me to do work with our chapters around the country. And this is some of us in, I think we're in Minneapolis at the time. And then I worked for NPR, that's Ira Glass in the middle. And we did some events with him all over the country, but that was in Seattle. And this is Julia Child's original kitchen. Well, obviously fixed up a little bit, but that's the original Julia Child kitchen at KQED in San Francisco. And then that's Flinders University, Flinders Station in Melbourne, where I worked for 3 years and then went back to live last summer down under during their summer. And I consider that sort of my second home. It reminds me a little bit of Chicago, but also just the warmth of the people are very Midwestern. So I really like them. And this is the silo tour outside of Melbourne. It is these beautiful silos on 200 kilometers, and the towns have selected and paid an artist. And Christine and I worked together at the Royal Children's Hospital. She's now retired. We're planning some travel together, but we did that trip together, and everybody at the office called us Thelma and Louise, and we were very proud of that. It was a wonderful trip, long weekend, like 5 or 6 days, and we just covered it, and it was just phenomenal. So it's about the people you meet, what you find along the way. And then during COVID, probably like you, I did some road trips. I was fortunate actually to be in Las Vegas and have the ability to get out and road trip into Bryce and Utah and Grand Canyon, and it was just solo. And I actually did my second camping since that van. Although I think during my marriage we did one camping trip. And I did that a couple of nights. I wouldn't say that I would be a road tripper in my car for any length of time. And then that was one of my plans, was to actually get a Airstream Bambi and pull it in my car. And that was how I was going to retire. As you know from my story, if you followed me at all, there is no camping in my story. It was a nice idea, but it was too heavy for my car. So that was plan C, I think, and that went out the window. And then the road trips were just beautiful. This is one of my favorite stops on the way from Las Vegas to California, Eddie's World. And then this was Santa Barbara this summer when I was house sitting in California. It was just wonderful. Sunrise, sunset, water. I'm very happy. And then you meet all of these amazing people along the way. So while I'm a solo traveler, and you may be too, all of the people that you meet along the way are just woven into the fabric of your life, into your heart, into your head. Many of them for a long time. Some are just brief. It doesn't matter. But I think, I don't know if Marcia is on here. I'll have to take a look. But I met Marcia last summer. And one of her comments was, because we met as strangers, I was house sitting and we met at a club where we were swimming together. And she made a comment about I should talk to people about how to be nice when you're traveling, or how to be open to being with people when you're traveling. And I really thought that was odd, but I guess you do come across people who are not open or friendly. And so I think it's the attitude that you have when you're out on the road, especially solo, to welcome people in. And it doesn't matter if it's over a drink once, or multiple dinners at a time, or going on a food walking tour or something like that, people you connect with. And so this is on the cruise from Sydney to LA, and Reed and I were just on a cruise together. And Sonia, I'm sorry I cut you off there. I don't know if you're on. Sonia is in Auckland, and I'll be seeing her shortly. And we're sort of all in touch on WhatsApp. And then you meet other people. This is a solo trip I took on the left of Rome, from Australia, and met these two lovely women during our tour of the Colosseum. And then we had dinner together. We went out for the evening, and we met up again in Rome. And this is just this week in Santiago. We had all finished a walking tour together. Guru Walks, if you don't know, it's pay what you like. And we had a fabulous tour of the city of Santiago downtown. And then we all decided to have lunch together at a place recommended by the tour guide. And a couple of these folks, we all just shared WhatsApp and our photographs. And now we're all sort of woven together and figuring out where are we going next, and where might our paths cross. So I just think that people are a big part of travel, and they share their experiences and their way of being, and you hear their origin stories and why they decided to do it. So I think that commonality about how we love travel and why we love travel is like the best conversation to have. And you learn something new someplace they've been that you haven't, and vice versa. And so I think, our origin stories live deep inside of our hearts and our heads, and then people share them with you, and it just weaves into the fabric of your life and how you want to share your story and continue your story. So again, so Todd here on the right, in Puerto Vallarta, I'm up at a hotel waiting for my apartment to be ready, and he just walks over. I love Todd. I love Todd and I love Drew. They're fabulous, both of them. But Todd is definitely the guy. And he just said, "So what are you doing here?" And that was it. And we've been friends ever since. And Drew is phenomenal, and we're in touch all the time. And these are just people that I randomly have met, but we connected. And there are lots of people I met too that I don't connect with, but there are these people that have really hung in my heart. And this was also on our cruise, Rhonda and Michael, on our cruise from Sydney to LA, and we're still in touch. She was just in Rome presenting a paper, and they have a cruise coming up that they wanted me to join them on, but I'm already booked. So I just think that there's a lot of ways that we can connect and stay connected, and travel just makes that even better, because it broadens, right? It's great to have a condo, and it's great to have an apartment building and people you work with, and then you start expanding as you travel, and you just meet people from different cultures and different points of view, and you just learn so much. So I think that was part of that origin story with Mom, that we were out of Shaker Heights. Her line was, "There is more to life than Shaker Heights, girls, and we're going to go find it." And so learning from the Hopi and a ranch hand in North Dakota, and the distances. I remember she called my aunt she was in San Francisco, and she called her from Bakersfield and said, "We'll be there shortly." Mom had like no sense of time and direction and space. And I could hear my aunt laughing. She said, "We'll see you in about a day. It's fine." But I mean, being in San Francisco in 1973 with my aunt. So it was mind breaking for Shaker Heights. And I don't look at it as a sheltered lifestyle, but it certainly was a pretty clean and neatly packaged childhood, sort of, except for the divorce. So, and then I think when you're traveling, and especially when you're traveling full time like I am without a permanent home, you need your ride or die. And those people for me are in Chicago and in Melbourne. Oh my gosh, I'm trying not to break up about this. So these guys have been friends of mine for decades. And if I need anything, or we just want to get together, they're there. And we're in touch on the phone, and we're in touch on Facebook and on Messenger and wherever. And Michael and I have been fundraisers together forever. And Josh and I met on a plane. He was one of our stewards, and we've just been friends ever since. And his partner Wes is amazing. Sarah and I have been friends from when I first started working with her dad, and then she took over the business, and we've been friends ever since. And Teresa, who I think is on here, Teresa King, and I've talked with you about her before, has an amazing bakery in Chicago, now entering its 16th year. And I met her before she even opened officially. She was standing outside the bakery. And these are my ride or dies in Chicago. And then the people in Melbourne. Noe is my writing aspiration and inspiration. And Rosemary and I work together at Parkville at Monash, and her husband, or a partner, Matt, is amazing. And I usually stay at their house when I come in, because they go away back to New Zealand. And Lisa and Noe anointed me BabZ. That was the name they gave me when I came to Australia, because they shorten everything. And Bob Wong and Erica we're also at the college, but two professors that we just hit it off as I was doing fundraising with them. And DC, Amy and Carrie Kay and I are still together, some from 2012 or beyond. So I think, it's the experience you have, the places you have, and then the people, but you always have those people really close to you who keep you grounded and make sure you're okay all the time, and you can always be with them. So that was what I wanted to share with you guys. I would love to hear, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, but I'd love to hear your origin stories. So if you'd want to pop them into the chat, I can put them up on the screen here so we can see where you've been, where you want to go. What was your first travel experience? Was it good or bad? More than you expected? Less? How were your expectations met or not? So let me see what's going on. We got Miss D here. Hello. Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. Um, oh, it's so great. Cartagena, Colombia. Thanks for joining us. It's so glad to see you. Another fellow nomad. So good to see you. And we got that's great. Oh my gosh, all these wonderful travelers on there. Come on, what's your origin story, you guys? And Kay, I know Kay and I met down in Puerto Vallarta, and she is a traveler. She was just in Oaxaca recently, and she lives in Paso Robles, which is beautiful. But I know you've got a great story. Um, oh, you grew up in Australia. Yes, it's a wonderful place, Australia. Where in Australia were you? Where did you grow up? It's wonderful. Great. You know what, Teresa? I would agree with you. I mean, my mom was my shiro. She grew us up. You don't need a man. You need to be able to support yourself, because she certainly didn't have one after 1968, let me tell you. And she was a hero. I mean, when I look back on it now, I don't know, a lot of 36-year-olds would take two girls out in a van and just start traveling. I mean, she blew out the clutch. I had a clutch manual car later in my life. And I remember hearing her, like, the gears. And of course, I had never heard or driven in a clutch car before. And of course, we're going up and down the mountains and all over the United States. So basically, we went down south from Cleveland, south, and then across. We did Indiana, Kentucky, I'm trying to think, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, across, the top of Texas, because she said, I want to cross all of Texas, the top of Texas, the Panhandle, and then New Mexico, Arizona, California, up all the way back across northern peninsula, the northern peninsula of Michigan, and then back to Cleveland. But somewhere in Bozeman, Montana, that clutch gave up. Did you know that there's a VW repair shop in Bozeman? Well, there is. And we sat there for 3 days waiting for it to be fixed because she didn't know how to drive a clutch car, honest to God. Because once I had my own, I know how bad a clutch driver she was. Val, so good to see you. Val and I. Okay, Val and my origin story. I quit my job. I bought 4 back-to-back cruises on Carnival from LA down to the Mexican Riviera, the whole Cabo, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta thing. And we fly in from Las Vegas together, unbeknownst to us, and meet at baggage claim, waiting for the transfer from the Long Beach airport over to the pier to get on the ship. And we sit down and we realize we're both from Chicago. Her son is in Las Vegas, which is why she was getting on. And she's doing her fam trip, right, Val? You're doing your familiarization trip with Carnival. And we ate at all the restaurants together. And today she's a mentor. She's an inspiration to me. She cooks. Oh my God, she's such a fabulous pastry and culinary chef. And she's a travel agent and she's traveling. So you should follow her for sure. I'm sorry it's so cold in Chicago. I'm doing the Follow the Sun tour. Thanks, Val. I appreciate it. That's a good one. Mark Twain wrote, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. So true. So true. And I think my mom saying there's more to life than Shaker Heights, it was a good thing in 1973. It made me fearless for sure. Oh, I don't know. The cruising? I love Marea. Marea was a pretty special place, and I'm going back again in September in French Polynesia. But we're doing Japan and around Australia. So I'm looking forward to more amazing places. Val, I don't know. How about you? What's your favorite or your best? Marcia, hello, how are you? I don't know if you heard me. I was not using your name in vain, but I was talking about your comment about how to be a good, welcoming, open traveler in a new community or with new people. And I always have that in the back of my mind now. So, yeah. So Teresa, my parents and 3 brothers travel in a VW van for years. Oh my gosh, all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, tight quarters, but great memories. Oh my gosh. See, I love that. There are people, Australians, big caravanners. They own them, they rent them, they go out. In fact, Randa and Michael on the cruise, They sold it. She has a rental. She has a property she's renting. He sold everything he had, got a good truck and a semi good trailer because they, to pull because they weren't sure if they would love it. Oh my God, they're having such a good time. And the caravanning in Australia is serious business. Up and down the East Coast, no matter what the weather, because the camping in the winter, I am so not into that. I'm barely into it during the summer. That's amazing, Teresa. Thanks for sharing that. And then you did a few classes at Monash. Yeah, I was in the science department at Monash doing fundraising and then moved over to pharmacy. It's a great college, great university. And Teresa, 16, you rented a van and spent 3 weeks traveling out west. I don't, does anybody know? Do a lot of people in the United States do it? I know during COVID in Las Vegas, the Whole Foods on the south side of the strip became full of Cruise America truck, vans. What do you call those? Where it's the truck and the van together? Camper van? Yeah. And they were all different sizes, and people would come in from the airport, meet people at the Whole Foods parking lot, and they would it was like a used car dealership, and they would just get in these vans like from late 2020 all the way through 23. You would see them taking off. So, and of course, from Las Vegas, you've got so many places you can go. It's amazing. Hello, Dolly from California. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Yes. Okay, parents would drive from South Carolina to DC or New Jersey. Station wagon would sit in the very back with the seat that faced the back and love it. Oh my God, weren't those the days? Seriously, we saw those. We had people with those in Chicago or in Cleveland in Shaker Heights, and when we go to the Dairy Queen, the kids would all pile out of the station wagon. We had a VW Bug, so I guess Mom didn't know how to drive a clutch, but it seemed to be in for repair a lot, and so those station wagons were just classic. Yes. Okay. Oh, so Val, ABC, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. You know what? I so have the Caribbean on my list. And so I ended up in South America. You guys may know I'm in Santiago right now and going on to the Galapagos and Machu Picchu and over to Iguazu Falls and then down to the Antarctic. But if I hadn't stayed this long, I was probably going to jump into the Caribbean. So that is on my list, Val, and I know you like that. So maybe we can get on a cruise together. We keep chatting about it on Facebook, but not actually making it happen. That's the other thing. You meet all these fellow travelers and trying to catch up with them. It's not easy because we're traveling a lot. What advice would you give to first-time cruises? Okay, I'll tell you, but Val, then you have to have one. So I think for a first-time cruiser who is solo, they have solo meetups. The ship, it's unhosted, but the ship provides a space to meet people. I often sit with people. There's different seating arrangements. I don't go into the dining room alone, although on this last Sapphire, I liked their system, Val, and I didn't find this on Carnival. You said you were willing to sit at a shared table, so they would make you sort of just wait to the side at the podium. And everybody knew this was working because it didn't work for me in Carnival at all. And so you would say you would share. And sometimes there was a couple and then 3 or 4 solos, and they would seat us at a table for 6 or 8 together. But at least we were sitting together, because at Carnival, they would sit you at an empty table and you'd have to wait for other people who wanted to share with you. So great way is just to go down to the dining room, tell them you're willing to sit at a shared table, and see who you meet. And some people you'll love and some people you won't. And it's only dinner. It's like it's just lunch, except it's only dinner. What do you think? I think that's my big tip to sort of get engaged with folks and meet folks. And I don't know, Val, what do you think? Oh, well, thank you. That was a good idea. Anybody else? Do you have any questions, you guys, or ideas or thoughts? Tell us what your origin story was. What was your first trip? Like, what was the first trip? Doesn't matter. Business, family, vacation, spring break. What was the first thing, the first trip that you guys took? And good, bad, indifferent? Can't ever forget it. It's just amazing. Tell me. Oh, Carrie K, okay. So Carrie K, she was in the picture with Amy. So I get this job in Australia. Carrie K, 2015, I think. Yeah, I think it's 2015 because the election's in 2016, and that was a shocker. I got the job. Long, long interview process for this job in Australia at Monash University. And I'm in Washington, D.C. And I tell Carrie Kay that I got this job in Melbourne. And I don't know if you offered or I asked. I said, "You want to come with me?" And she said yes. And that was it. I mean, I think, Carrie Kay, it was 2 weeks notice or 3 weeks notice. And you used your points and whatever you had, because we've been collecting points for a long time, people. And we got on a Qantas flight, and she was with me for 10 days. And they had given me, an apartment to stay in, a two bedroom. I think we had a 2 bedroom apartment, great location in South Yarra. And I ended up living right across the street from that place once I got settled in. And she was there for 10 days. And then we went to Sydney and had fun. And we went out to the outback and did all these tours just like you do anywhere. And we saw the kangaroos and wine, and we had a great time. So that's who Carrie Kay is. And that's why you have a ride or die. And you always have ride or dies. And Carrie Kay, at a drop of a hat, she can travel, man. Definitely. So good to see you. Thanks for joining. What else? I went to the wedding. That's right. That's what it was. I said, "You want to come with me?" She said, "I went into work the next day, and in a week, I'll be gone for 2 weeks. I'm going to Australia." And I think that was your first trip. I don't think you'd been to Australia. Oh, maybe you'd been with your dad. I don't remember now. That's the other thing. As you become a certain age, the travel memories and things fade a little bit. So use that phone, take lots of pictures. Yeah. First solo trip, Serendipity Travels, 16. Oh, and a Qantas flight to Europe, 1970s. Yep. I was dressed up in a suit and high heels. Oh my gosh, good for you. I took my trip in 1981. I did not have a suit and heels. I was 21. Yeah, 21, sitting in the back of the plane on Qantas. Yep. Oh, that's awesome. That's a great solo trip at that age, huh? That's a good one. Yeah. And Val, first trip in 2002 on the Carnival Destiny. Oh, so you've been a cruiser for a while. Things truly changed since then. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of people talking about what's not happening on cruise ships anymore, Val, from cutbacks and not. But anyway, group of 10 family members. Oh, that's the other thing that the families on the cruises are just fun. I mean, the kids go off and do whatever, it's a wonderful place just to let people enjoy. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you, Val, having solo time. And I think that thing about the cruise is that you can be part of a big group playing trivia or at the pool or at lunch or dinner or wherever. And then you can find a quiet spot either by going to your cabin, or the ship is huge. You can just find a place to be, journal, do whatever you want to do. Yep. It was your first time in Oz. Yay. Okay. I thought so. You had traveled before that. So I'm thinking, oh, did she go to Oz with me the first time? Oh, okay. So Val's going to go river cruising. Which one? Which one are you looking at, Val? Which one? Yeah. Yes, we love that. So Carrie Kay, first real solo is 2006 to Tunisia, where I met up with people. My first totally solo trip total trip was Paris a few years back. Yeah, it's different solo traveling. It's not good or bad. It's just different. And we just had some conversations on our Senior Nomads group and a couple of other Facebook groups about, is it really different for couples and solo travelers? And I'm like, nomads. I'm like, yeah, it is different. It's way different. Yeah. All right. So who else? Let me see. I'm going to look here and just see any other good stories of what you've done in your origin story. What got you traveling? That 50% of America or Americans don't have passports, and it's a larger number who have never left their hometown or their home state. So this idea of us people on this call, doing your solo and having that origin story of what got you going. It's I didn't realize it and I didn't think about it until I retired and I started this full-time travel. I mean, I always thought of that trip that I had with my mom and my sister, but I never thought of the impact it has. And so as I was thinking about my travels and where I was going and how I was going about it, I'm thinking, where did this come from? Because it's different, because I was married. Jeff and I traveled together a lot. We had a great time. And then I traveled for business a lot alone, But of course, you would meet people when you got there because you had work to do, and then you had business meetings. And then if I did a lot of work in Washington D.C., so then I had friends there, and having dinner or going to a happy hour was easy. So this whole full-time solo on your own, Santiago, South America is a brand new country to me. Never been, which is why I wanted to come. But it's a new, you got to figure stuff out. It's not as easy as going back to some place that you've been. It's a lot of fun. It's great, but it's just different. Um, so serendipity. Europe, love it. Just got back from Prague. Ugh, that's beautiful. Paris is my favorite in Europe, but I have to tell you, I travel with the currency, and the euro is not exactly US friendly right now. It's about on par. So I always try and go places like South America is very inexpensive. A lot of people go to Southeast Asia for that same reason, also Australia. So I really travel with the dollar. So I'll be honest, I haven't been to Europe in a while because it's expensive. And as you all know, retired, living on my Social Security and a little bit more. Haven't touched that retirement fund, but this may be the year. And I'm not worried about it. It just is what it is. So, but I do. Jeff and I used to go to Paris a lot. United back in the day before the euro, they would have these deals where you leave on Saturday and come back on Tuesday, and we would buy those. And I mean, we're talking $300 or $400 round trip. We had little apartments we would rent. I had cooking classes I took. And so Paris, we actually considered buying someplace there. It didn't work out ultimately, but that's how much we went and how much we enjoyed going. So yeah. Oh yeah, Thailand is amazing. Yes, I would agree with you. Thailand is beautiful. Oh, Dolly. Okay. First major trip, 73 in college, 3-week trip to Spain, Portugal, Northern Africa. Wow. That's a major trip. Were you alone, Dolly, or were you with a group? That's a big one. Spain, Portugal, and Northern Africa. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Thailand. I did love Thailand. I had cooking classes in Thailand, and the beaches in Thailand, the food. Oh, yes, beautiful for sure. And Val, she traveled for business for many career in marketing as well as for educational and a school board member. Thank you for your service. And now for pleasure. I agree with you, Val. That was my story too. And I don't think that I planned my work to have that travel, but I feel so fortunate that I had that opportunity for companies to pay me to do my job wherever it needed to be done. And I really enjoyed it for sure. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. The Aussies and the Australians and the Canadians are not happy with their currency at the moment. Well, Dolly, that's pretty good with a roommate. I mean, 2 of you, your first trip? Good on you. Good on you. That's awesome. Well, you guys, I don't wanna keep you, but if you have any questions or anything else you'd like to share, we've been on for about a half an hour, and I know, it's your evening as well or afternoon somewhere, and I'm just so glad that you guys could and come by and say hi. And it's just, I was thinking about it a lot as I'm entering almost through my 3rd year of solo travel, and I wrote about this in my blog, so you can check out my blog and you can read the story. It actually won an honorable mention in a writing contest, and take a look at that. And the YouTube channel continues to grow, and the travel agency is going to be announced soon. So if you're looking to travel, I'd be delighted to be your travel partner. And I have Val to also thank for that as inspiration. So definitely lots to come in 24, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it. But with that, you guys, I will wish you all a good evening. I want to thank you so much for joining me. We'll do another live. I'm in Santiago and off to Galapagos at the end of this week. And then I'm there for about a week, and then Iguazu Falls and Buenos Aires, and then back to the west coast of South America for about a week in Machu Picchu, and then 2 more weeks in Santiago. It is beautiful here. Real quick, it's really beautiful. The weather is glorious. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Las Vegas, hot but dry, with a nice breeze coming through. Buenos Aires is hot and humid, and I do not like that, so I don't want to go back to Buenos Aires. We had a wonderful trip there. Don't need to go back. And then I'm down to the deep cold of Antarctica again on an expedition in March. So more on that later. But I want to thank you so much for joining me and for being here. Please share your stories with me and share my stories with other folks. And I really appreciate you coming by. So Thanks so much. Hope you have a great night. Bye. See you guys. So good to see you. Oh, thank you, Serendipity. I will do this again. If you guys are in, I'm in. I'd like to share your stories and mine. Travel, there's nothing wrong with a conversation about travel. Hard things to argue about, nothing to argue about. Thanks, you guys. Have a wonderful night. See you soon. Bye.